I wasn't, but it's beside the point. Anyway, there's something more to it though. I was thinking about it. Why does this bother me so much? And it's because she was a communist. So I didn't upload a video yesterday. I was feeling cold and tired. Kind of sad and inspired. What little footage we actually did get yesterday, you know, couldn't really be used. It didn't feel like I was contributing anything very useful to the whole coronavirus conversation.
Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, chapter 34. It was near Christmas by the time all was settled.
So just a quick update then from Spain, I suppose, today. What more can we say? Well, tomorrow is Monday and we're going to be heading into our second week of compulsory confinement in our houses. We are in a state of emergency, which was initially going to last 2 weeks and has now been extended to 4 weeks, so it will officially end on the 12th of April. With many experts actually speaking today on the television about how they think it's impossible that it will end after only 4 weeks and that it will have to inevitably be extended even further, going on into perhaps even the month of May. So I mean, there's a lot of things to think about there, but I think the most important thing is for people, anyone who's listening from the UK or the US, just to bear in mind that this really can happen, and this state of emergency can just be, you know, put into place nationwide from one day to another. Something I read and something I think I alluded to in another video said something about how in the US they can't apply that federally, that would be unconstitutional. If so, wonderful news for the USA. Yeah, I don't know. Is it going to happen in the UK? There's another good question. I'm not sure. I don't know. It seems like Boris Johnson's government is taking another approach to this whole crisis, where they seem to be appealing to people's common sense. Telling vulnerable groups who they are, identifying them and telling them to self-isolate.
Kippers for breakfast, Aunt Helga. Is it St. Swithin's Day already?
Here in Spain, the transition to full-on communism is going pretty well. Today I went out to a 24-hour shop, because I need to explain that's very clear. You're allowed out to go to the shop. So I think really you can go out 100 times a day, and maybe, I don't know, someone might film you and inform the police that you're not exactly being honest with the amount of times you need to leave the house. But other than that, if the police stop you, I think you're in the clear really, so long as you've got an excuse, which is I'm walking to the supermarket, which is always easy in Spain because you're always 5 minutes away from a supermarket, because we all live in these high-rise buildings and built-up areas with lots of shops and things. So even on a Sunday, I'm walking to the 24-hour shop. Anyway, so my point was I was walking to the 24-hour shop, or I think I was on my way back, and this was just a few hours ago, and some drugged up wench started berating me from a balcony. And it was funny, you know, because I was walking and there's no one in the streets. All you can hear is birds singing. It's actually it's pretty peaceful. It's apocalyptic and peaceful at the same time. It's a weird thing. But so I'm walking back and I hear, and what do I hear? I hear, oh, he's going for a little walk, is he? She says it in Spanish. Oh, me lo dando un paseíto, qué bien. And so I'm like, what's that voice coming from? And I thought it must be being directed at me, because I already felt a bit nervous about going for a walk. Not going for a walk, going to the shop. That's what I was doing. But she, you know. Anyway, point is, guilty conscience. Point is, I'm minding my own business. There's about 10 other people in the street, long street. They're all walking dogs. They're fine. So I knew the voice was directed at me. Her being all, oh, going for a walk, are we? With a fag in her mouth, or a spliff, I don't know what it was, probably a spliff. She seemed a bit drugged up, to be honest. Doped up. And I said, because then I heard it a second time. I looked around and I saw this wench, as I say, on her balcony, looking at me. And she said it again. She said, oh, I see. A walk, is it, sir? Oh. So I said, I'm sorry, in my perfect Spanish. ¿A ti qué te importa? ¿A ti qué te importa? ¿Te importa algo a ti? What do you care? What's it to you? And she said, well, the only thing I care about is that people are in their houses. And so I said, now I lied a bit. This is artistic license, but who was she to know that I was lying? I wanted to make her feel bad. And I'll get to why I wanted to make her feel bad, because I'm sure there's lots of people know, but some people who are listening, there aren't lots of people listening. Some people who hear me explain this will probably think what an evil antisocial person I am. But wait. So I said to her when she said that, I goes, and I did it very dramatically, I said, I've got 2 young children at home. Not a lie. I've got 2 young children at home, and I'm on my way to the pharmacy. So, yeah, to get paracetamol. And she said, oh, well, muttering under her breath. I was like, yeah, shut up. And that made me feel like a big man. No, so this is my point, right? You know, I shouldn't be getting angry with people, but then at the same time, there's something there, there's something in it, there's a reason that I felt that anger. There's a reason I felt that anger, you know? It's not so much whether she's right or wrong, it's, because that's debatable as to whether I should be obeying the government or not, or whether it's antisocial and irresponsible of me to be walking the street for 5 fucking minutes. But anyway, when you can invent literally any excuse to do it, how she could read my mind that I was just walking down the street for a minute to clear my head. The reason I didn't like it, the reason I really took, and I quickly invented a story to make her feel bad. And the reason I was able to do that is because I prepared it for if the police stopped me. No, but apart from that, I felt indignant because I wouldn't do that to someone else. I wouldn't inconvenience someone like that. Someone minding their own business. Not being irresponsible. I'm walking down the street, you don't know where I'm going. You know, you don't have to be in the house for, it's not like there's no reason for you to leave the house. And like I said, I'm going to the pharmacy to get paracetamol for my 2 young children. I wasn't, but it's beside the point. Anyway, there's something more to it though. I was thinking about it. Why does this bother me so much? And it's because she was a communist. No, I don't have any evidence. But if we were to live in a communist dictatorship or a Nazi dictatorship, but yeah, particularly, you know, East Germany, Soviet Union kind of style. What was that? Style. What if we were living in a place like that? She would be the first person on the bloody phone to the Stasi. She would. You know she would. I don't believe Brother Daniel is quite the comrade we thought he was. Yeah. And I'd be shipped off to the gulag. For being an enemy of the state, a thoughts criminal. I can understand people, I suppose, having strong opinions about this, and I'm caught in 2 minds as to whether we should obey so blindly or not. And then everything in my being tells me that this is mental. Everything about this that I'm experiencing is surreal, and I don't know. I think it's going to happen in other countries, and I think it's going to be interesting to watch people's reaction, because there are people in England and in the US calling for this. It's one thing for people to be responsible, and I am being, I'm not going out. I'm not going out for a run or anything. I left the house twice today. Once to quickly get something from a shop, and then the second time, okay, I'll walk around the block. I was out the house for 15 minutes. I had to do it. I had to clear my head. I can't. Some people have greater willpower, have a greater ability to get through this kind of thing. I can't. It wears me down. The inability to make choices for myself just crushes my spirit. And I feel like maybe the people that are calling for these kind of measures, maybe they just don't know what it feels like. I'm very aware that there are worse things for people to have gone through, and that people have gone through throughout history, are going through around the world. There was a Spanish journalist today, Arturo Pérez Reverte, who was a war correspondent for many, many years in Lebanon, in Bosnia, and he was actually talking about Bosnia in reference to young people in Spain, saying how bored they are with the confinement now. And he said, you've been in confinement for 1 week. Try 4 years in a bunker in Bosnia, where if you come above ground, a sniper will blow your brains out. Without central heating or electricity. In a bunker for 4 years. Knowing that people are ready to shoot you outside. Now, he has a point, but he doesn't know what hell I'm going through. No, that's not my point. Hang on. Oh, I do not have a good setup here. Hang on. Let's get this back on track. There we go. No, that's not good. That's not good. So that ex-war correspondent has no idea what hell I'm going through. Anyway, no, that's not my point. My point is that was a real world. That was a real war. Yeah, this doesn't feel like a real world. That was a real war. There was an existential threat. There was, if you went outside, you could have your brains blown out. Here, if you go outside, you stand the risk of, if you're in public and you're not hygienic and you don't wash your hands and you don't cover your face, you stand the risk of being exposed to a highly contagious, fairly serious virus. But now I've seen a lot of people making commentary about how it's very callous to talk about what kind of people it's affecting. And it is, and I don't want to appeal to that argument. I don't want to be so simplistic and so heartless as to talk about the age and the physical health of the majority of people who are in a serious condition, and we know they're not the only people who are being affected by this virus,
But maybe we can take some comfort from the brutal reality that the weak must make way for the strong. Evolution marches on. The scythe is remorseless.
The vast majority of people who are dying or in a critical condition are people that had comorbidities and are above a certain age. Now, I don't know, where would you say, do you draw the line? Imagine if we can't contain this virus. So Imagine if we're confined for 1 month, and on the 12th of May here in Spain, we all go back out onto the street, and then we have the same number of cases again within a month. Do they lock us up again for another month, for 2 months? What is the protocol from now on? Do we go through these periods of confinement until we found a vaccine, and at which point we vaccinate the entire nation? How much does that cost? What about with the flu jab? So every year we have to develop a new flu jab because there's a new strain of the influenza virus. And we leave it up to people basically to, you want to get it, be responsible, take it. And granted, we don't have that for the coronavirus, the COVID-19 virus yet. So it's more dangerous, and it seems to be more contagious than the flu. And we don't seem to have our bodies don't seem to be resisting it as well as they do the flu. But at what point does it become unsustainable to lock everyone up? At what point are we mentally not going to be able to handle it? And yes, I know that other generations went through harder times. Other generations and other people around the world are currently going through harder times, but there's an expression in Spanish, lo que se da no se quita. I've always wanted to do that. Can do that now. What you give, you can't take away. Do we have that expression in English? I'm not sure. So, you've got people, a couple of generations of people now have grown up in total comfort. And you just lock them up. And you cease all economic activity when we've grown up in the richest period in human history, in the richest countries in human history. How long will people put up with that? How long can you afford to borrow money to pay for all this cessation of activity? I mean, these are all legitimate questions, but you just get shut down. You get called irresponsible, you get called callous, you get called heartless. And then I think they're genuine concerns. I think you could easily appeal to the same emotions. You could easily say, how bad are the side effects going to be from this lockdown? We shall see.